Hey, Erin, thank you so much for making time today. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm okay. We talked a little bit about why I really wanted to interview you. Well, I've been wanting to interview you for a long time because I met you it seems like ages ago, like we've known each other, I don't know, 25 years, but we met through this group called the Nasty Women of Indiana to show, hey, if Hillary and all these other AOC, all these women are nasty, then so are we. And so we met in that group, and your phrase, the phrase that you used, we were talking about Republican government and governors and the things that they have in common. And you said Governor Holcomb is killing Hoosiers. And that's what caught my attention. And I said, what are you talking? Who's this woman? She's pretty bold to be saying, it's a bold statement. And then we started talking. And in fact, I mean, I would agree with you. I would say that the actions taken by Governor Holcomb and Mike Pence and other Republicans who think that, this partnership with Southeastrans is a good idea. They are killing people. So, but I don't want to get too far ahead. So what I wanted to say, that's how we met, right? And I'm so glad that group brought us together. But in the months since then, I've gotten to know more about you and your work, and it's been really inspiring to me. And you know that. So thank you for inspiring me personally. And I want you to tell everybody a little bit about who you are and why you said what you said, why you said, Governor Holcomb is killing Hoosiers. So it's all over to you now.
Well, my name's Erin, and I am a small town girl from Southern Indiana. I'm from Paoli.
Mm-hmm.
We have um, three stoplights in our town. For people that are not familiar with Paoli, our entire county is just under 20,000 people. So, a little bit of history on me is I've always wanted to help people. And in 2000, I got my bachelor's degree in social work. And so that has led me down tons of different career paths. I've done a little bit of everything. But I found out a couple years ago in one of my jobs that there was a company here in Indiana called Southeastrans, and they were put into our state by Governor Eric Holcomb. Um, I didn't understand what Southeastrans was, and why people had to call Southeastrans to get rides, and why they couldn't get to their vital medical appointments, such as doctor's appointments, x-rays, blood work, CAT scans, MRIs, surgeries. And these are people that are very at risk, fragile. Um, they, otherwise would be in a nursing facility, nursing home living. It's people in nursing homes, people that are on Medicaid, so it's the least of these. These people need to get to their medical appointments because they're on Medicaid for a reason, because they have something medically wrong with them. So they supposedly call this company Southeastrans, which is kind of like the middleman to get a ride. And instead of getting rides, a lot of times they get stood up, or they're extremely late or extremely early, or nobody comes at all, or they're canceled 2 or 3 days ahead of time, and then they don't make it to their medical appointments because it's just not reliable. And the reason I said that Eric Holcomb is killing people is because he is the reason that Southeastrans exists in Indiana.
Because he signed the agreement. It's $128 million contract for 4 years, correct? And
Correct.
at this point, just want to tell people that because of people like Erin, because of people who have been affected, right? They've contacted their local, the state senators and their representatives, and they've said, "Hey, this is what's happened to me," and because of that, there's been an oversight committee, right, created.
Correct.
And so that was created though, like what, a year and a half ago or something. And I mean, yeah, COVID hit, but I'm sorry, I think those legislators are getting a paycheck still. And so if you're getting a paycheck, then you do your job. Then you do
Right.
your job and you have oversight. And I have not, you and I have both looked, we've Googled, we've scoured the state site, right? Have you seen any updates at all like this year? I haven't seen any updates of oversight, any evidence of oversight. Have you?
There, the last oversight was November 2019. That was when the oversight committee met. And then after that, it's pretty much been dropped.
Yep.
And I have reached back out to Governor Holcomb's office. I've talked to Laquana Brumfeld, who,
Mhm.
you know, for everyone, she and I are on a first name basis because I've called so many times.
Mhm.
And she says that as far as her knowledge, nothing's changing. That Southeastrans is here to stay. We have 2 more years of this contract. So
Mhm.
2 more years of getting rid of the most vulnerable and the most expensive
Yeah.
Hoosiers.
Yeah.
So the ones
Yeah.
that cost the most. And so it's a way to thin the herds,
Yep.
genocide by government. So yeah, it's horrible. And you know, I was told directly from State Senator Eric Cook, Representative Chris May, and Representative Steve Davison. All three of them told me face to face that they knew nothing of this until they started getting complaint phone calls because they
Yep.
didn't know what Southeastrans was until because it's a Governor Holcomb policy, and he's the one that puts it in. He's the one that takes it out. If there's a um, company that's not doing their job, why are they allowed to operate
Yeah.
for 2 more years on taxpayers' money, like
Exactly.
to the tune of $128 million?
Yeah.
Because his pockets are getting lined. That's why. Because he's getting kickbacks from the owner of Southeastrans, Steve
Absolutely.
Adams. Southeastrans is from just outside Atlanta, Georgia. Steve Adams is from, I believe, Carrollton, Georgia. And you can go onto the FEC website and you can type in Governor Holcomb Finance or Steve Adams, and you'll see that Steve Adams with Southeastrans is donating about $10,000 a year to Governor Holcomb's reelection campaigns and to Republicans and the PACs and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
My dog. Oh, I
Oh
thought the dog
no,
was gonna bark.
and that's really important. Again, we're here with Erin Stennett, and she is in Paoli, Indiana, and just an amazing voice speaking up for people who either don't have the ability, literally the ability, because they're focused on this crazy thing called staying alive, or they don't know that they deserve something different. And I think Erin, you and I, because we both have kind of seen what the world could be. Like we've seen that the world can be fun, the world can be traveling, and the world can be meeting new people. But if you're sick, you can't do any of that. And you and I have also, I've worked in social services as well. And if you are in any way, shape, or form someone with a disability, if you're someone who has abuse, you're thinking about survival, And one thing, Erin, I've been doing some research into actually is the idea of, and you and I both, because we've worked in the area of disabilities, we tend to say, this is a little off topic, but I'm curious to hear what you say. I say people with disabilities. And were you trained to do that as well? Instead
Yeah.
of like a disabled person or a blind person. It's just not how a nice way. I wouldn't say, my Paoli friend, Erin, or, it's Erin, you know what I mean? You're Erin,
Right.
and you might have something going on. Now, the reason I think that's important is that when I was doing reading about people with disabilities and who has disabilities,
Mhm.
the thing about having a disability is it doesn't have to be permanent, right? Sometimes you have a disability and it's because you have cancer, you
Mhm.
have something has come up, you have a sickness, but also you can have a disability that you learn about, and then you go, okay, but now I know how to manage it. I know what medication to take. I know what therapy to do, right? So, I mean, I'll share that I have, I guess, what people would call a disability. I have probably a few, but I mean, I've had, all kinds of health issues in terms of, my, all kinds of stuff happening, which I'm not going to go into but the point of it is that what I read and what I believe is true and what I think you would say is true, almost every human at some point in their life will have a disability. And so that's why I think it's so dangerous to think when you were talking about like, oh, thinning the herd, the sick among us, this, the sick among us could be any of us. And that's
Yeah.
what COVID is making us realize, right?
Mhm.
So we can't have, first of all, I think that mentality is crap. And you and I think we agree on that. But second of all, like, it could be us. It could be us. It could be my sister. It could be my brother. It could be my
It could be
cousin.
any of us. I mean,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
daughter just walked in the door. She's 16. Her cousin dropped her off. They went out together. I mean, it could be her. I mean, she could have
Yeah.
been in a car accident
Yeah.
and,
God forbid.
but
Right.
it
Yeah.
is, yeah. I mean, so it could be any of us at any time. I mean, I could have a
Right.
massive stroke in 5
Yeah.
minutes
Yeah.
and then I am, disabled. And while it may not be life lasting, like you said, it can be for a period of
Right.
time, or it could be
Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
Right.
But
No, no.
for the people that have Medicaid, they
Hmm.
deserve just as much as myself at this point and
Yes.
anybody else that is absolutely able-bodied to be able to get to their doctor's appointments, to be
Yes.
able to
Yes.
get to their necessary those appointments that you have to be at. I
Yeah.
mean, if people don't have their mental health medication, if schizophrenics don't have their mental health medication, what's going to happen? I
Hmm.
mean, and if you don't have your heart medication, what's going to happen? If you don't have your chemotherapy, what's going to happen? Well,
Right.
we know what's going to happen.
Right.
And they know what's going to happen. Governor Holcomb knows what's going to happen. Steve Adams
They're
is
gonna die. They're gonna die.
and these people are getting rich off of people dying
Yep.
because it is all government funded. And not only that, but it's not just in the state of Indiana. It's in 6 different states
Mhm.
and the voting is happening on Tuesday with David Perdue. He's getting campaign funds from
Yeah.
Steve Adams with Southeastrans, and so we've discussed this and, you know, the rest of the world needs to be very aware of
Yeah.
what is going on. That
Yes.
people, Hoosiers are suffering, Georgians are suffering, people in Louisiana are suffering, Arkansas, a child died
Yep.
because Steve Adams' company failed to do the service. And anybody can look these articles up because they're
Yep.
all over, all online. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever you have to pay $300,000 to the family because you killed their kid, I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then these legislators backed this frankly crap, and
Please.
and it's okay because they're getting reelected and they're getting their pockets lined. I mean, it's blood money. What
Yep.
is happening? This is blood money, and people are dying at their hands, and they don't care.
Hmm.
They don't care because
And
nobody's talking about it.
exactly. And that's why I'm so glad you're here with me today, Erin, acting as a voice for everyone, who is being affected by these Medicaid transportation changes. And just to review, and just to make sure people, if you just, if you guys are watching, so basically, let's say we have a friend named Naisha, who you introduced me to. Naisha has stage 4 kidney failure. Okay, stage 4 or 5, I think it's stage 4. And she has to have dialysis twice a week. And so this is a world, knock on wood, I don't live in. And I mean, but I do have a nephew who has very serious diabetes. I have a brother who was in a coma with diabetes as a result of his insulin. Anyway, had a horrible thing happen with his insulin pump. So it's a world I'm in, but again, thank God, not personally. But when Naisha told me what it's like to go to dialysis and then be left at an appointment and not get a ride back to your house for who knows how long, or not make the appointment at all, it makes you feel like, I mean, I don't want to speak for her, but I've done an interview with her, and you guys can check it out if you're watching this. There's more videos, an interview with Naisha telling her story. You'd feel like you don't matter. It's like, oh, my government, I've paid tax dollars for years to have money in our, in our coffers so that I can get to my appointment. She's been working the whole time too, by the way. So people who think, the idiots, and I'm sorry, I very rarely call people idiots, but idiots who think that everyone on Medicaid or everyone who gets help from the state or whatever, they're freeloaders. They're not freeloaders. It's like, you can be working full time, but anybody, if you have a horrible disease or something happening, it can just be enough to like take you from making your bills to like not, or and who could afford 2 times of dialysis a week, on a without insurance. But anyway, thank God Medicaid exists. But so if Naisha, the deal is Naisha is left at home and she's thinking my government doesn't care about me, I can't make it to my appointments. or now as she's driving herself, as you know, she's driving herself to and from dialysis, which is sad. I think it's sad that, you know, we live in a society that just says that that's okay.
It's unsafe. I mean,
Yeah.
she's putting other people at risk
Yeah.
because she has left no choice but
Yeah.
to drive herself
Right.
because it cannot trust the government company that's been hired to take her there because they're trying to kill her, you
Right.
know? And
Right.
it's just and this is just one instance, and it's
Right.
happening all over the state.
Yeah.
It's happening in multiple states,
Georgia and
and it's sickening. I mean, there are literally thousands of people. I've lost 3 people that I know personally, and a lot of it I would say is related to Southeastrans because whenever you miss a doctor's appointment or a dialysis and then you miss, you know, you may go to one but then you miss 2 more, and then, you know, it's just when there's not consistency and there's your life is in chaos,
yeah.
but you're supposed to be able to count on your government to be there for the people, and they're not. They are not. And it is just it's wrong, and it's been going on for over 2 years now.
Yep.
And it's like people don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah. And we're coming where there's a light at the end of the tunnel for COVID, which we always knew there would be. It's sort of like, just be patient, folks. Stay at home, you know, play chess, play checkers, watch some movies, but we don't have to be out around other people endangering people's lives. So I think that's the frustrating thing for like people like you and me, where it's like, there are other options, guys. And that's what floored me when I first talked to you. We had a phone call and I said, so Erin, how do we fix this? And you said, go back to how it was. He said, it wasn't broken. It wasn't broken. Go back to how it was. So that's the thing, is that the Republicans in this case, and this to me, by the way, I'm more of an independent than anything because I want to work with everyone and believe that everyone is capable of good ideas. But there are also people who happen to be Republicans in this case who actually their values don't match mine. And what I would say is their values don't match most of the countries. Frankly, we just figured that out in this election, thank God. But, you know, their values are money, right? And so what they're saying is that what they did was take a system that was working, and they had an idea where they thought, oh, it might make it easier to do it this way. This guy has technology and stuff that's going to make it easier. And it hasn't made it easier. And one thing I posted, I don't know if you saw, but so if you go to southeastrans.com, go right now, guys, go to southeastrans.com. You'll read all about this company, this horrible, in my opinion, horrible company. They say I think they're in the human transportation and delivery industry. Like who, since when are humans just like packages? And by the way, yeah, a package, it isn't going to probably, you know, die if it's left at, you know, at the door or doesn't make it to its destination, but humans do. There's a big difference between humans and packages. So even how they speak about, how this company speaks about people is disgusting to me. So I want to go back. So just to recap real quick. So we have someone like Naisha who can't make her appointments because they don't show up. That's the thing. So what they did was this company, Southeastrans, they basically hire anyone, right? You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have any sort of, you go through their training, I guess, which first of all, why we don't understand, you know, what their training is. Like, we need to know more about that because these people aren't trained. When a woman in Georgia, her wheelchair was not attached correctly. Remember that article? It's not an article, it's a story. It's a woman's life. She's gone. She's a mother and a grandmother. She had fought cancer and they didn't attach her wheelchair correctly. Now I think again, I attached wheelchairs about 1 million times, not 1 million, literally hundreds though, when I worked for a company in Bloomington. You make sure it's secure. You check it, you double check it, and then you drive off. So I've done this transportation and I took it seriously. And I also was trained, you know, I was trained by people who took it seriously. So now all of a sudden we have people who are basically showing up in their cars, which may have trash on them, and they probably don't have any training. They're taxi drivers. And by the way, you can be a great taxi driver. You might be a funny taxi driver. You might be a taxi driver who speeds, like, which, Naisha's gotten several times. But the thing is, when you're going to a doctor's appointment, you don't necessarily want someone to be funny or whatever, or speeding. You want someone who's going to get you to your appointment safely. And she's had times when I know she said she didn't feel safe even. So basically, we have this company now that is supposed to be getting people their appointments. They're not. So right away, they're just not doing their job. But then they're making so much money off of it. And that's what you and I looked at. We looked at where the money was going from and coming from. And I do want to mention before we move on and maybe talk a little bit about it, because I still think that Mike Pence is the linchpin in all of this. He's friends with the governor of Georgia. He was in the governor's club, the Republican governor's club for all those years. And then he got to be in a real position of power, unfortunately, these past 4 years. And I would say quietly, while, we were busy thinking, oh, what's Trump going to do now? What country is he going to try and buy on Twitter? Who's he going to tick off? What else is he going to do? Meanwhile, Mike Pence is quietly gathering together these Republican governors. I'm going to try and I hope I get the states right, but you can look on their website. But it's Indiana, it's Georgia, it's Tennessee, it's Virginia, Louisiana, and let's see. Arkansas. And he gets together with all these other governors. And by the way, Washington, D.C. is included in this, guys. So if you're watching and you're in D.C. and you're on Medicaid, or someone who's on Medicaid, this is affecting you guys too in D.C. So Mike Pence has this one company. He's outsourced this thing to this one company, Southeastrans. And it's like, I would call it a racket almost, honestly. And he says, hey guys, we give our friend Steve Adams over at Southeastrans these multi-million-dollar deals we're talking about. And guess what? He's going to donate to the RNC. He's going to donate to your campaign. Eric Holcomb, he's going to donate to your campaign. And, Loeffler and Purdue, he's going to donate to your campaign. So you want to support this. And that is the disgusting thing about this, is that it's literally quid pro quo. It is literally cronyism. And it's something that's been happening forever and will always happen, I think, cronyism. And there's one thing when cronyism works, I guess, when hey, I have a friend who can mow your lawn. That's great. But when cronyism doesn't work, and when you see the amount of death and just it's destruction, it's disgusting, then we have to do something. So can we talk a little bit about kind of Pence and your research, because you did a lot of research into kind of who was getting the money and who wasn't. And then just maybe end with that, kind of encouraging people to do their own research, and also what you've done to let the media know. So can you tell me a little bit about that, your research and what you've done to let the media know about what you found?
Well, what I've found is basically what we've been talking about is, it started with Indiana, because that's where I'm from. Hoosiers are dying and being horribly adversely affected, missing all these medical appointments and everything because of Governor Holcomb's policies. Some of the research, I've looked into the FEC, the campaign finance for, Holcomb, Purdue, which is in Georgia.
Yep.
And there is, on there, you can see that Steve Adams is funding their campaign refinance.
Yep.
And in that research, we also found, like you had mentioned, that Pence is, he was in the governor's club, so he's really good friends with the Georgia governor. He's been there, meeting with him several times. So of course,
he's been stumping for him. He's been stumping. He'll go there and shake hands during the middle of a pandemic.
Yep.
He's at a restaurant shaking hands with people.
Right. And you think that it's good because
isn't that crazy?
This is bringing good publicity to you. No, this is not good, because literally they're killing people. This could be your mother. This could be your friend. These are famous people, but these people are not famous for the right reasons. It's so sad. So anyways, I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And about a year ago, I've talked to I've done an interview with the Herald Times Mail, and I've contacted Sandra Chapman with the Indy News. And then I had an interview with Wave 3 TV out of Louisville, John Bowl. He is still, from what I know, gathering research. I gave him a huge list of names of people that I know that were willing to talk to him about this, victims of Southeastrans, victims of Governor Holcomb. I almost said Governor Pence because, Holcomb is the puppet in this.
Yep.
Pence is really the one that's pulling the puppet strings.
Yep.
So
Just like Trump, by the way, just like Trump. I mean, people think Trump is like this mastermind. I'm like, no, he's the puppet. Mike Pence is pulling, and all of his super conservative religious buddies are pulling the strings.
So it's so sad. So hopefully, we can get the word out about this even more.
Yeah.
All I want is for Southeastrans to go away, and the people like, Sally or Betty Joe that lives down the street to be able to call, directly to these providers, be able to call rural transit and say, hey, can you come and pick me up at 1 p.m. on January 15th for my doctor's appointment that's like literally 2 miles away. I have no other way to get there. Let me be able to call them directly and set up my own appointments. Why is Southeastrans? Of course they're saving people money because nobody's going to doctor's appointments. Nobody's taking rides. Nobody's being billed for the doctor. Nobody's getting any tests or medications. Nobody's having any surgery. So yes, the state's saving millions of dollars because they're killing people. They're killing the people that need this service. And all the while, the service continues. And I have a theory that they're probably billing, even though they're not actually taking the clients to, these people to their appointments. And, Steve Adams and Southeastrans get rich, the rich get richer, and the politicians get reelected because they're rich and they have the insider tracks. And let's put these policies in place. And, if you keep me in office, I'm going to keep your company, rolling in the dough. And then you make sure that you donate to me. And that's how it goes. And the rest of us are left to suffer. Yep. And it is sick, and it can happen to absolutely any one of us at any time. I mean, I don't have thousands of dollars saved in the bank. I mean, if something happened to me today, I would be
but Erin, guess what? You do. It's called your tax dollars, and they should be paying to take care of you and all of your family and friends. And that's why
that's the thing is they just aren't. They don't care because they cannot see past me and mine versus what's the greater good. And it's not for the greater good. It's for what's gonna make me rich, what's going to keep me in power, and I fully believe, and I would say this to Eric Holcomb if he was standing here, that you need to get rid of Southeastrans and in this state, and then I might listen to something you have to say. But until then, I have seen it with my, own eyes that he doesn't care about anything but being the yes man to Pence and what's his next play.
Right.
We're stuck with Holcomb for 4 more years. So after 2 more years,
because we decided not to elect a medical doctor during who also has tons of business experience, but whatever, just the first Black person to run for, governor of Indiana ever, and the national media didn't care.
So, and it's not, and it doesn't have to be a, Democrat and Republican thing. This is a human thing. This is a human rights thing. This can happen to any of us at any time. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or Green Party or whatever. I don't want you and your loved ones to suffer. And that's what's happening.
Yes. Erin, every time I talk to you, I feel like I become a little bit of a better person. I have to talk to you. No, I'm serious, because I'm like, sometimes and I know you and I've talked about this. Sometimes we feel like we're the crazy ones, and then we're like, we're not the crazy ones. You guys are, because you're not listening and you're not voting
It's
for in
bad.
your best interest. Like, that's what floors me, when people don't vote in their best interest or put pressure on their legislators. Like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm like, actually it does, because Betty Joe, Betty Sue, they're
Yeah.
not, they're dying. And you're right. You hit the nail on the head, Erin. Dead people don't cost us much money, do they?
No, they don't.
And
No.
so if you're dead, then yeah, we don't have to do those chemo treatments, and we don't have to do the dialysis. And it's disgusting. It's taking it's ripping families apart, for one thing, because it's taking people away from their kids when they could be, enjoying their life with their kids and their grandkids, and instead they're worried about, I didn't make it this appointment, and it's just not necessary.
Yeah. And
Well,
as
Erin,
bad as COVID is, I mean, yes, I think we're all kind of shell shocked with COVID right
yeah,
now. And
for sure.
like, but at the same time, like, yes, COVID's bad, but like you said, we can control what we do with COVID.
Right.
We cannot control what another company is doing to us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, these people, they have no other choice.
Yeah.
They have no ride. They have no way. And
Yeah.
you're taking away a person's right to vital, necessary,
Yes.
100% life or death medical, medical treatment. And if they can't get there, in essence, you're giving them a death sentence.
Yep.
And not mattering to those that we elected is the worst tragedy in all of this.
Yeah. If you were standing in front of Georgia voters right now, because we have this runoff, and we know what the Republicans there have done, and or just what these what the governor has done, that he's, I mean, the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, named the CEO of Southeastrans to several, like at least two committees that are listed on the Southeastrans website. So he's proud of it. He's proud of the fact that I'm on this, governor's committee. And how he got there doesn't really matter, right? Or the fact that there's so much money like switching hands, you almost lose track, right? But if
Right.
you could say something right now to governor, to the Georgia voters who are, have the position now to a really amazing and honestly rare position of affecting the future of our country, what would you say to them in terms of who they're supporting in this upcoming election?
I would encourage them to do just a little bit of research. Number one, look on the Federal Elections Committee website, the FEC. Look up Southeastrans, Steve Adams, and it's just like it sounds. And look up Purdue. It's not hard to look it up and see that the money is going to him, and then reach out to your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, anybody that quote unquote has a disability or what you would see as a disability. I mean, some disabilities are, you can't see them,
Yeah.
but there's some that you can obviously see. But see if they have ever been adversely affected or affected in a negative way by rides from Southeastrans, because I know that it's happened because I've joined groups, Facebook groups, that talk about how Southeastrans is a horrible company. If you go onto Google and you Google Southeastrans Atlanta, Georgia, look at the Google reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the reviews on there. There's like 200 and something reviews, and the majority of them say how horrible the company is, that they don't show up. It's the same thing that's happening in Georgia as it is here in Indiana. And so just do a little research and see, Purdue is taking money from Southeastrans, and again, it's blood money. And if you're okay with that, then I that's fine. I mean, I'm not okay with that because that could be my husband, that could be my child at any time. And I'm not okay with killing people. I'm just not. And that's what it comes down to.
Well, you put it better than I could, Erin, and I really appreciate it. And I'm glad you're not okay with killing people.
No.
It's so crazy that we want to help people. But I want you to continue helping and listening. And I think the real key is listening. And like you said, just reaching out to people and saying, how have you been affected? And reading the articles. And I know that everybody's on overload. I get it, but we can't just say I'm on overload and stop paying attention at a very important moment. And I'm going to say not just in our lives, but I do think this is a turning point for and I don't think I'm exaggerating. This is a turning point for our country. And it could be a turning point for the world because of how interconnected we are, right? And we saw what happened in the last 4 years when we had a representative of our country who was not representing us well, you know? And say what you will about his politics, his policy, at the end of the day, they're representing us. And if the people who represent us don't have the same values as we do, that's a problem. And if your values are putting money over people, then you need to think about that. You need to think about why you're putting something, green pieces of paper, or sometimes not even green pieces of paper, but literally just numbers on your computer screen ahead of grandma, ahead of Auntie May, whoever, you know.
Yeah.
These are real people. So I hope you guys, you know, I learned a lot today. And Erin, I just can't thank you so much for sharing this information and for all that you're doing to fight for not just Hoosiers, but for Georgians and Tennesseans and all the people who, all the Medicaid clients who are being affected by this. So on behalf of everyone, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to me, because I have been, like I said, squawking about this for 2 years, and it's exhausting.
Yep.
It is
Yep.
exhausting, and
Yep.
I have not been as in touch here recently because, I mean, I just needed a break.
Yeah.
And I got COVID, and so I mean, it's just it's exhausting.
It is. It is.
And trying to do the right thing because it's the right thing. I mean, I get nothing out of this. I mean,
Yeah.
I could get fired from my job and be harassed, and
Uh-huh.
I mean, all kinds of stuff can come from this. And I mean, these are powerful people.
Yep. And you can
And
also make change though. That's the cool thing is
yes,
that you
yes, and
never
I can
know.
make change,
Yeah.
and one person's voice can make a difference,
Yep.
and just like one vote can make a difference,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so important to you know be aware of what's going on, and you know make sure that your voice is heard,
Yes.
and do the right thing because it's the right thing, not
Exactly.
because you know it's just there's right and wrong in this world, and you know letting people know about this is the right thing to
Yeah.
do.
And it's like sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know if it's right, wrong. This is right and wrong. Do you make it to your Medicaid appointment? Yes or no? It's right, you know, yes, it's right to get people to their appointments and it's
Yeah.
wrong to fuck with it. And I know it's my channel. I can say that. It's funny. I've been trying really hard not to say bad words because I normally I do. You know me. And I've been catching myself. I'm like, wait a minute, this is my own page. But I do, you know, I work with a lot of writers and I've told you anytime you want to write something for womenwithguts.com, you know, you're welcome to, but your interview is there. If you guys want to go to womenwithguts.com, that's my website. And I have a lot more information from Erin. I have Naisha's story there. And I will go in a minute, but I want to tell, and I'll leave it recording just because I don't think I'll leave this on. But anyway, I want you to watch, you, Erin, specifically, but everyone should watch this. It's Leah Remini and it's called Scientology and its Aftermath. And I'll tell you why I'm thinking of it because do you know who Leah Remini is?
I think
She's a
so.
celebrity. So she
Yeah.
was on King of Queens, which I was just be upfront. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch more just like Netflix, you know, and I watch documentaries and comedies usually. But anyway, so I haven't seen that show, but I knew, you know, she's an unforgettable actress. I've seen her in other things, and she has that great, you know, New York kind of accent. Well, she was raised in the Church of Scientology. And the reason it's similar to ours, which you might go like, so how's that the same? But the similarity is that they used fear tactics in the Church of Scientology and in all cults, right? And there's this idea if you break from the cult, you can get hurt. And so a lot of what she talks about is, first of all, I actually was raised, I don't know if you know this, but I was raised in an apocalyptic cult. So maybe that's also why I'm very serious, because I literally thought the world was going to end at any point. And as a kid, when you hear that information, I went to church 2 hours every Saturday, right? And you'd hear the end is coming, the end is coming, and your friends are going to boil in a lake of fire. That was one of the biggest images, was lake of fire, my friends in it. Not a pleasant image for a 7-year-old, you know? Well, anyway, so I really empathize with her and with the show, but that's like why, I mean, you know, I take life seriously. So when someone says the world's ending, I'm like, no, really, is it? So anyway, but what struck me in the similarity to this situation, and I say our because, you know, I want to do all I can to help, you know, help what we're doing here. Leah Remini has made the authorities aware of what's happening inside the Church of Scientology over and over and over again. There is an FBI investigation, but she's on season 3, Erin. So my point is that the shit doesn't go away. And it's just not going to, and it's always going to be lurking there, this greed, right? And it's not even like Mike Pence isn't the problem. Donald Trump isn't the problem.
Right.
It's a fucking greed, right? See,
Right.
now that I let my filter off, but it's just greed, right? And so the thing is that what she kept saying was, we're not going to stop. And that's why I think you should watch it, because she's badass. And she's relentless. She's not afraid of the Church of Scientology, which has a whole lot of money in it, and Tom Cruise in it, right? So that's why she's like my new hero, by the way. It's like you and Leah Remini. Like, I'm like, Erin is rocking. And no, and seriously, it gives me like hope and like encouragement, because I'm like, if Leah Remini can go on and make this show that's being aired internationally and show the world, hey, this is what happened to me in this crazy cult, what's still happening to children, by the way. And that's like the biggest thing for me, which is children who are raised in this kind of environment. It's so bad, so negative, so unhealthy, and abusive. There's abuse, and people have died. That's the thing, people have died in the Church of Scientology. So she talks about it. I think it's in season 3. She talks about, you know, she's like, I keep telling people what's happening, and I keep waiting for the government to do something. And here's the thing, the government, we have to remember, they're just people, right? And they're just as befuddled and confused and whatever. So it's like, you have to, like, it's almost like you have to get to this huge kind of like mass awakening, and I don't know if there's a real word for it, but yeah, like kind of a global consciousness of, hey, cults aren't okay, hey, greed is not cool, hey, let's put people first. You know, so that's why I want you to watch it, because I think you'll love it. And I do think that if I share this, if anybody's watching this and is fighting, just know that we got to be in it for the long haul. We have to play the long game, because guess what, Mike Pence is playing a long game.
Yeah.
Mike Pence, I've joked about him being robotic, and but he's like a computer who's like, he sees the dollar signs. And I also think that Mike Pence, he thinks he's doing it for the right reasons. I think some of the stuff he's doing, the pro-choice stuff. Now, this is gonna be my last question, I promise, and then I have to go. Because at a 20-30 minute interview, Erin, 45 minutes later. Okay, so do you think right now, if I asked you, how would you answer? Is Mike Pence pro-life?
No.
That's how I would answer it.
Nope.
You can't be with the stuff he's doing.
No. Mike Pence is pro Mike Pence. And I mean, and that's sad, and it should not be that way.
Yeah.
He's pro whatever is going to get him farther.
Yeah.
So,
well, I did think of you, by the way, and if I find the pictures, they're on my phone. I'm like, if I find the pictures, you know, in that picture box, like, they're on my phone. I can't say that anymore. Like, if I ever dig up those pictures, it made me so happy. I did take a couple selfies, I think, when he came to Bloomington, because of the I keep saying the cure, but the vaccine. And I thought, he's coming to me. I have to go say hi to him, you know? And so I stood on the side, and I on the sidewalk, and I stood with my sign, and it said, Mike Pence is not pro-life. And I know he saw it, and I know his assistant saw it. And I hope that maybe even if one person said, what is that crazy girl out there? And then I had this other sign that was like, Medicaid transportation. Like, and they were like, what the heck? Because they probably don't even know it.
No. And that's the thing, is like, they don't know the people. They know, but they don't know. They don't know. They don't see the faces of the people.
Yeah.
They don't understand how their policies are affecting Betty
Yep.
Joe
Yep.
or, Elmer. I mean, they have no idea
Yeah.
that, I mean, I had a suggestion for a reality show. Um, Take members of Congress when they're on their break and let them live like we live, a normal person,
Yeah.
or like working a normal job.
Yeah.
You have to balance your budget and you have to do this and that and the
Yeah.
other. Let them do that for a while,
Yeah.
or for 6 months. Let's see how you do.
Oh my God, that would be great. For all, okay, let me say, for all of you Republican, or no, for all, but especially for the Republicans who got voted out this year, that's a great idea. Second job for you guys. This can be your
Yeah, a
second.
reality show
Yeah,
I mean, like, talk about the real world. I
yeah,
mean, this is the real world. We not put you but we put you in a, moderate, middle income, middle class. I mean, we're middle class and I'm working two full-time
yeah,
jobs and my
yeah,
husband works a full-time job and he goes to school. I'm like, you know, it should not be this hard.
yeah,
Life is hard and I'm
yeah,
not asking for handouts by any means,
right.
but, you know, like 50 years ago, men worked and women stayed home and took care of the children and cooked and cleaned and gardened and what happened in that last 50 years? Why is there such a disparity now? Why is it so different now? And I mean, Reagan economics happened, trickle
Yeah,
down,
there's
you know,
that.
and I mean, and I wasn't even, I was like 5 years old,
Yeah,
6 years old then, but it's way different today. The middle class is getting much larger. The rich are uber rich. We have the Jeff
yeah,
Bezos, and then we have the very, very poor, that have nothing. But there's such a disparity there. And it doesn't have to be
yeah,
this way because
right.
nobody needs $400 billion. I mean,
Yeah,
come on. I mean,
yeah.
really? I
Well,
mean, I
yeah,
can make it on way less than that. So, I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, Erin, are you still there? I can't hear you. Erin?